Good morning, students. Now we are going to see experiment number 3, simulation of LAN topology with configurations of HTTP, DNS, and DHCP server. So first, let us discuss about the need for the DHCP server in the network. So we all know that IP address is a unique identifier that uniquely identify a computer in the network. So every computer that communicates in the network needs an IP address. So how can a computer get an IP addresses? There are two types of IP address. One is IP version 4 and IP version 6. So IP version 4 is 32-bit and it is represented in the dotted decimal notation like 192.149.252.76. So it will have 4 octets separated by a dot. And there is IP version 6 also. It is 128-bit number. It is separated by, it will have 8 components separated by a colon, and every component will have 4 digit of hexadecimal number. So this is how an IP address look like. So how do a computer get an IP address? So there are two type of IP configuration for a computer. One is static IP configuration where you assign an IP address to a computer and the IP address will never change. And there is also a method called the dynamic IP address configuration. That is what we are going to see in this lab, where you will have a server and you will get an IP address from that server. So this is how you can check your static IP, or you can set your static IP. You have to go to the control panel, network and internet. And when you click on the network connections, all the network connections in your computers will be visible, and the active network connection will also be visible without an into symbol. And when you just right click, go to properties, the next step you will get is a small window like this. And there you have to click Internet Protocol version 4. And then if you click again the properties of that, you will get the option to assign an IP address for your computer. So you should say that use the following IP address. You can set the IP address, you can set the mask, and you can even set the default gateway for your computer. And suppose you want the computer to get the IP address from the server, you have to click the obtain an IP address automatically. So this is how you will set an IP address for your computer. And to check what is the IP address of your computer, you will have commands like ipconfig for a Windows computer and ifconfig for a Mac computer. Now we will see about the dynamic host configuration protocol, which will give dynamically IP address to a computer. So for example, let's say a client joins a network. It connects to the DHCP server, and first it sends something called a DHCP discover. It is just identifying where all the DHCP servers are available in the network. So for a DHCP discover message, the DHCP servers or a server available in the network will give the response. So now you get an offer message. Maybe if you have one DHCP server, you will get offer message from one DHCP server. Or if you have multiple DHCP server, you will get offer message from multiple DHCP server. So after a client receives an offer message, it just send request to any one server. So after receiving a request, it gets an acknowledgement in which it receives a subnet mask, default gateway, domain name, and the DNS server detail. So all these details are communicated through a DHCP server to a computer. So in short, if you want to remember this communication, you can have the keyword as DORA, where D stands for discover, O stands for offer, R stands for request, and A stands for acknowledgement. So now we'll see the configuration of DHCP server using packet tracer. So we know this is a packet tracer window, and you have something called a device palette below. So I want all of you to listen to the mouse movement. So these are all the device palette. So let me place end devices. I want to place 3 computers in the network. So let me say PC0, PC1, and I would like to keep PC2 in the workspace. So this is what you called as a workspace. And then also I want to need a server to assign, to configure as a DHCP server, and want to give IP address to these computers. So say DHCP underscore server. So this is my DHCP server. So let me have 3 computers in the workspace. So now there are too many devices in this workspace. So if suppose I want to connect these devices, I need an intermediate device. So to have that, let me go for a switch. So if you just click the network devices here, below that you will have switches. So there I want all of you to take PT switch, which is a very generic switch. So let me take a PT switch. So now I want to connect all these devices. To connect all these devices, I'll go to connections. So let me choose automatic connection. So you can press a control symbol and the control key and also click it so that you can do the operation multiple times in the workspace. Yes, now if you click an escape, that prompt will be gone and you will be given again with the select prompt. Now everything is done. So let us see where you can see the IP address, or you can assign an IP address for a PC in the simulation environment. So if you click the PC, these many apps, or you go to a desktop, so these many apps are available. So if you click IP configuration, there is static and also DHCP for IP version 4. The topmost portion is allotted for IP version 4 and the bottommost is for the IP version 6. So you can have it. And now we'll just do the server configuration. So let me click the server. All right. And I'll go to the desktop of the server. I'll go to the IP configuration. So most probably in a network, it is always advisable to assign static IP address to the servers. So I'm going to assign 192.168.5.2 as an IP address. So I'll repeat 192.168.5.2. So this is a class C IP address. So automatically the masks is set as 255.255.255.0. And the default gateway I would like to set as 192.168.5.1. Okay, and as of now, I'm not setting any DNS server for this DHCP server. So let me close it. And now we'll come to the services and click the DHCP. And the first step is you have to put the service on. And then I'll write the DHCP default gateway 192.168. So what is the IP address that I have set here? So it is 5.1 as a default gateway. So similarly here also I'll set it as 5.1. So let us have the DNS server as 192.168.5.3 because 5.2 is a IP that I have assigned for this DHCP server. Let me have the DNS server as 5.3. Okay, and let the start IP address be 192.165.10. So I wish to give it as from 10 onwards. So and the subnet mask is it's a class C, so 255.255.255.0. And the maximum number of users I wish to have in this network is 100. So let's say 100. So TFTP server and WSLC address, as of now, we are not going to concentrate. So we'll give as save. So I repeat, give the service on, default gateway, DNS server address, start IP as 5.10, and maximum number of users is 100, and just give save. So once you click save, you will see the changes are reflected here. All right. So now I'll just close it, close this DHCP server and find if a computer is getting the IP address dynamically. I'll go to the computer, IP configuration, and I'll change from static to DHCP. Yes, so DHCP request is successful and it is able to get an IP address, the default gateway, and the DNS server. Similarly, let us try for the other computers as well. So we'll go here, go to the desktop, IP configuration, DHCP. Yes, it got its IP address. Similarly here, desktop and DHCP. Yes. So the DHCP configuration is successful in all these computers. Okay, now we'll see about the next server, that is DNS server. So before I start explaining about the DNS server, I wish to give you a small activity where I want you to recite the names of your 10 friends in 5 seconds. I hope as soon as I pronounce this activity, all of you were able to do that. So immediately you will be able to recollect more than 10 friends and you will be telling that. Okay, so now let's come to the next point. Can you recite all those friends' phone numbers? So I hope you were able to do it at least one, two, three, or to the maximum of five. So which one is harder as of your part? Okay, so you could give it in the comment section. Which one is really harder? Okay, so I feel that for a human being, okay, so it is very hard for us to remember the numbers, but we are also comfortable with alphabet letters. Suppose if I ask, so you ask me, ma'am, can you tell the names of 5 or 10 web address? Immediately I'll say facebook.com, google.com, crickinfo.com, netacad.com, and whatnot. Okay, but if suppose you ask me, ma'am, what is the IP address of those URLs? Really, I'll struggle hard to remember those. All right. So, but what is that for a computer is really an opposite one. So, whenever you type facebook.com, google.com, or alphabet like numbers, your computer will be so sad as you see here in the screen. But when you give a numbers, your computers will be very happy to identify it and do the process very quickly. So now you see there was a gap. We human cannot remember numbers, but computers are comfortable with numbers. So who is that helping us? But we don't always type the IP address in the URL, right? Suppose you do a search, Google search, or you just want to check out the cricket score. You don't type 20.10.20.10. Just you go and type crickinfo.com. But how do the computers in the network understand that and process your request? You were able to get all your reply very properly in your browser. Is that is because of this DNS server. All right. So every network will have a DNS server which helps us to do this. So for example, whenever you type www.example.com, it just goes to the DNS server and come back as a IP address. So the DNS server translates your URL into IP address. And then the request is passed with that IP address to the web server. All right. So now you may ask me a question, ma'am. There are maybe billions of URL in this world. So how are they organized and how is a single server able to recognize all those IP addresses? It is not actually a single server. It is actually a hierarchical architecture, as you could see in this network. So there are root servers, root DNS servers, as well as there are also backup root DNS servers. So if you really want to know about the picture of root DNS server, you can go to the URL which I have given here and you can explore that more. So under the root DNS server, the root DNS server is one which has all the URL to IP address mapping. And then under the root DNS server, you have the top level domain server, which is .com DNS server, .in DNS server, and .mil DNS server. So below the top level servers, you will have the authoritative domain server, which is which that just belong to an organization. For example, DTU. DTU is an organization. It has cse.etu.in. What is its IP address? ece.etu.in. What is its IP address? So mostly, suppose you have a client here. Okay, you have a client here. The request just suppose you have a client here and the client is asking for an IP address. The request first goes to the authoritative DNS server. Suppose if the mapping is not there in the authoritative DNS server, then it just routes to the .in server. So for the first time, whenever the request is fetched, it is also maintained. It also maintain a copy of it in the local server so that the lookup process is very good or very quick. Okay. So this is how the domain name server works. All right. So now we will see how actually the domain name server works with the help of the packet tracer configuration. Let's come to the same topology. I wish to have two more servers added to this network. So let me have one as the HTTP server, or I'll have this as a web server. So web underscore server. All right. And then I wish to have one more server here in the network, which is going to be my DNS server. So let me just put it here. And hope all of you remember that the IP address that we have assigned for the DNS server is 192.168.5.3. Okay, and the gateway 192.168.5.1. All right. And I have assigned the DNS server. And now let me come to the web server and let me give any IP address for the web server. I wish to give 192.168.5.5. All right. And then the gateway 192.168.5.1. All right. So now let me let me connect it first. All right. I just wish to go to the connections. Okay. So it says the cable cannot be connected to the port. So we are going to add ports to this switch. All right. So how do we do that is we'll just click the switch. And first and the foremost is you have to switch it off. Okay. Switch off the switch. And then you can just drag and drop this. Make sure that it is in PT switch NMCE. All right. I'm sorry, it should not be in CE. It should be in CFE. So CFE, fast Ethernet ports. So I have added 2 fast Ethernet ports. I need 2 for fast Ethernet ports, or else let me add 3 and then switch it on. Okay, so switch off, click CFE, drag and drop it in the empty spaces, switch on. So now it is done. Okay, we'll wait for the switch to resume back. It's done. So let me just connect it now. Yes, now it is connected. So all the servers and computers are connected. So let me go to a computer. All right. And I just go to the web browser and I type and I type 192.168.5.5 and click go. Now it is able to fetch the page of the web server. So where is this page stored? We'll see here. If I click the web server, all right, and I just go to the services, HTTP. So by default, you could see that the HTTP page is on, the services are on. So this is where the page is, copyright.html and the image, hello world, image, index.html. So you can just even edit it, index.html. If I click it, you can even add, you want to edit it, you can edit this file as per your requirement, all right? Or you just want to have a new file added, new HTML file. If you are comfortable with HTML, you can even create your own web page here for this server. So now you see that this index.html page is loaded here in this browser. But now, if suppose I type www.example, that was my name. Okay, so I type this and click a go. All right. So we'll see if it was able to fetch it. Let me just close it and open the browser one more time. Yes, now I type www.example.com and I click a go. So you could see that there was no response for the page which I have clicked because my computer find it very hard for translating it. Okay, so even though I've given the DNS server here, still the DNS server configuration is not done. So it was not able to resolve it. So let me just configure the DNS server. Let us just configure it. I'll go to the DNS server. I'll go to the services, then click DNS and put the services on. The first step that you have to do is put the services on. So here I type www.example.com means, okay, so if somebody typed example.com, it is nothing but 192.168.5.5. Okay. So just you have to click it and click a save. So click and add. All right. So once you click and add, that record is added. 192.168.5.5 record is added. So let me just go to the network now and I go to the PC and this time it should work when I give example.com. So we'll see that. Yes. So now I type www.example.com. Yes, now it works because once I type www.example.com, initially the request go to the DNS server. The DNS server is able to resolve it and give the IP address back. And then from the PC, it goes to the web server and fetches the pages. So this is how the configuration of these three servers are done. So you see that the web server works using the protocol hypertext transfer protocol. So it has many methods. So when you give a URL, you just take the request, it puts the method get and the version 1.1, HTTP 1.1, and it just go to the server and fetches the page. And if you were able to get the page successfully, you will get 200. There are also methods to fetch the page like get, put, delete, head. Okay. So get means it will get the page. Put means it whenever you upload a form or upload a file, the put method is used instead of get. Okay. And whenever you want to get only the header information, what is that server all about? What type of configuration the server is running on? Okay. If you want to get such information, you will use a head method, or you want to delete any records from the server, you will use the delete method. So this request goes to the server, it fetches the file, and once if the file is successful, it returns with something called a status code. For example, here 200 OK means everything is okay and the file is on the way. Suppose 404, file not found. You might have seen that 404, file not found, 503, bad gateway, all those status codes you might have seen when you are browsing the internet. So this is how